What up, y'all? I had to switch my phone real quick, so the audio gonna be a little different. The video that I just recorded, my phone naturally splits it to two 30-minute videos. I got both of those uploaded on YouTube right now. So I'm trying to get this done before the night is over with. It's Sunday right now, so if I don't have all of these posted up by tonight, they'll be posted up tomorrow. But anyway, I left off talking about Lie Amistad. I was about to get into that whole little episode. Now that took place in 1839 at this point. Now again, going back into the context before I continue, I want to reference Abraham Lincoln. At this point, Abraham Lincoln is politically in office. He became a member of the House of Representatives within the state of Illinois in 1834, and he serves all the way up until 1842. Now, this whole little case took place in 1839. This is also the same year that he met his wife, Mary or whatnot. He's going to end up marrying her 3 years later in 1842. So that's the background situation going on with Lincoln as far as his political beliefs. Even as far back then, he believed that slavery shouldn't be emancipated where it exists, but any other territories that become new states within the Union, slavery should not be permitted at, including those places where slavery is not permitted at that same point in time. He's going to maintain that position up until his election and even after, but that's what's going on as far as like this year, 1839. But at the same time, again, La Amistad. This is a weird case too. This is like 1839 in June, or was it July? No, July. This happened in July. Or was it June? Because I don't want to get them mixed up with James Covey. That's what makes this interesting, the coincidence between both of them. Anyway, as far as like La Amistad, the slave that's very famous for this rebellion, his name is Sengbei P.A. Sengbee and then P-I-E-H. Now he was from Sierra Leone amongst the Mende people. That's the language that he also spoke at the same time. Now slavery as far as across the Atlantic had been outlawed at the time. So this is what gained him luck as far as his freedom. He ended up being captured with a whole bunch of other slaves in Sierra Leone. He was being shipped. He was brought to Cuba, Havana, Cuba, and then he was going to get shipped somewhere else in Cuba, and that's where the rebellion took place. Now, as far as on board the ship, I forget the name of the ship, but the owner of the ship was a guy named Ramon Ferrer, and it was two slave masters or slave holders on the ship. Two guys. One, his name was Jose Ruiz, and then the other guy's name was Pedro Montez. Actually, Don Jose Ruiz, and the other guy's name was Don Pedro Montez. They were on the ship as well. In the midst of this whole little ride to this other location, the cook on the ship made a joke in front of the slaves. He said something about, he joked about them, getting ready to get prepared to get chopped up for food or something like that. He made it seem like they was going to become edibles. Now, they didn't speak English, so I don't know how, they caught on to what the guy was saying, but that is what caused the panic. Sengbei P.A. ended up somehow taking his chains loose, and a couple of other guys, and that's when they attacked the people. They attacked the captain, they killed the captain of the ship, and they killed the cook as well. And as far as like these two slave masters, they were ordered to sail back to Africa. So he sort of slicked them, made it seem like that was going to be the case, but they ended up turning and they ended up sailing northeast to the northeast coast of the United States near Long Island. Another ship intercepted them. The ship was called Revenue Cutter Washington. And you know, the slaves tried to escape or whatever, and they got caught. And the guy that caught the slaves, or the people that caught the slaves, or one of the guys, he claimed Sing Bay, PA, as property or whatnot. And then they were taken to a different jail in New Haven, Connecticut. That's where they was taken. So then later on, a case ensued because, like, when the slaves got caught, you know, nobody knew exactly what happened because nobody spoke Mende. And there was a guy named Joseph Gibbs who ended up finding a translator. Now, this is why it's fucking coincidental. This other guy, James Covey, he became the translator because he was also from Sierra Leone. But it's so weird because it's like his situation is almost similar to Sing Bay, PA, as far as his background, because he had just arrived in America a month before, if not a month before, a month after. That's why I want to get the dates correct as far as like when the Amistad case took place. I think it took place in July of 1831, and as far as James Covey, I believe he arrived a month right before that. But as far as like his background, he was initially a slave. He had got caught. He was sewn into slavery. What? I think initially, actually, when he was young, he was about like 5 or 6 years old. You know, his community got raided by another tribe, the Bulam tribe or something like that, and he was sold to the chief's wife, or made a slave to the chief's wife. 3 years after that, when he was about like 8 or 9 years old, depending on how old he was when he was initially sold to the Bulam tribe, he subsequently ended up getting sold to some Europeans. Now, because the slave trade was illegal as far as the Atlantic, you know, the ship that he was on got intercepted by the British, and then he was freed. Now he was put into the hands of some type of British missionary. You know what I mean? Now I was kind of confused when I read this because they said he got brought back to Freetown. And I looked up Freetown. You know, it's a place in Sierra Leone as well. But he was there at Freetown. He was a part of a church called the Church Missionary Church Society under some guy named John William Weeks, right? Again, I ain't looking at no notes. I'm just looking at my phone, making sure the videos upload. Anyway, John William Weeks or whatnot. And you know, he kind of served with him for a little bit, and then he ended up joining the British Navy, right? And the guy that he served under was a captain by the name of Charles Fitzgerald, right? So, fast forward a little further, 1839. This is when they end up going to America. Now, again, if I'm correct with the date, they made it to America a month before the La Amistad incident, you know, before they got caught, you know what I mean, or whatnot. So they made it there in June of 1831 on a ship called the Buzzard. And so by the time the whole incident, by the time Sing Bay, PA, and the rest of the 57, actually, you know, they started off as 57 Africans and 4 kids, but I think by the time they got caught, it was only like 43, maybe 47 of them. By the time they got caught, the rest of them had died or whatnot. But James Covey ended up serving as the translator. And so they went to trial, and 2 lawsuits were at play as far as like, you know, them being caught illegally, and as far as like a property lawsuit, you know, like the people that actually caught them offshore or whatever through the ship, you know, they wanted to claim them as property. Long story short, Sing Bay, PA ended up winning his case or whatnot. And so like 2 years after that, in 1841, in November of that year, is when they were granted and were able and had enough money to go back to Africa. But James Covey also joined them in going back to Sierra Leone as well. That's why it was so fucking, it was such a coincidence. I was like, wow, that is so fucking interesting. But that's one of the things that took place. Again, you know, letting you know, like, okay, you know, the laws were at place, and there were a little bit of fairness within the laws. Like, I didn't want to mention this until I got to Dred Scott, but I'm gonna go ahead and mention it anyway. Like, for example, nah, you know what? I'm gonna wait to mention it. I'm gonna wait to mention it. But I just figured I took a note of that, like, okay, that was one of those little fair incidents or whatever as far as like slavery is concerned. But going forward, I think like the major one, let me see, a year later is when Abraham Lincoln's term is off. That's in 1842. As far as Harriet Tubman, she's still a slave in Maryland. She didn't escape yet until 1849. But from 1842, let me see, I want to say like about 5 years later, that's when Abraham Lincoln gets elected again, this time to be a part of the United States House, be a part of the United States House of Representatives, representing Illinois or whatever. And he only served like a 2-year term from like 1847 to 1849 then as well. Now, during this time, the abolitionist movement is still at play as well. You got people writing against slavery, you got people writing for slavery. By the time you get to I'm trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. By the time you get to 1850,